All right. Happy Monday, everyone. Happy Monday, and welcome to another Ready to Love recap right here on Reality Check. You guys know we kind of are partial. We're a little partial to Own and Ready to Love. It's one of our favorite shows to dissect. And so we are right back in it with another guest. And I always love having the ladies come through. You guys know I got to support my ladies. I love everybody, but I got a little extra something for the ladies. And this lady, I definitely thought she left the cast much too soon. I remember watching the single special, and then actually the first episode was really looking to seeing more of her on the show. But she did leave. And you know what? The best part about it is we have her here with us tonight. So please help me welcome the very beautiful April Raquel.
Hey everybody. Thank you for having me, Crystal. This is a treat. So thank you so much and good evening, everyone.
Yeah, well, you look beautiful. I'm loving the look. The updo is super cute. You're absolutely beautiful, and welcome to the show. And thank you so much for coming. I know sometimes people are a little hesitant, especially if they have not been on television before, and they get on television, they're reading comments, and it's like, okay, what is going to happen in the interview? But this is a safe space.
Okay, and I'm about safe spaces. I'm here for safe spaces. So thank you for at least setting the tone and making me comfortable to just talk to you like girlfriends, because that really is that's my safe space, is to kind of envelop. And I love sisterly bonding and for women to be able to talk in a sisterly fashion, because we can relate with each other's struggles and just relate.
There
We
you
can
go.
just relate. So thank you for that.
Absolutely. No problem. Absolutely. We are. So I'm going to tell, I think some people got the link for the back behind the scenes. But that's not, it's
Oh,
okay. It's all good.
that's my
So we're good. You guys, please make sure that you share this. Make sure you like and share this conversation so as many people get a chance to hear it as possible. And anyone else that was trying to join the back end can join us here on Facebook for Rolling Out, and also right here on YouTube. Make sure that you're sharing this conversation, because trust me, I'm sure a lot of people want to get to know April a lot more than we got a chance to see on the show. So first of all, like, how was your weekend? How are you feeling tonight?
Ooh, Crystal. So my weekend was eventful. I am bi-coastal between South Florida and Los Angeles.
Oh,
So I traveled to LA for work. I sing with a wonderful agency over there called West Coast Music, and had a job. And my very best friends are there. My sorority sisters are there. So we had some time together, and I made it back here this morning.
oh,
So
wow. Okay.
I'm operating on I don't know what kind of fumes, but I'm up and I'm here and I am here for it.
So that's, I saw when I was doing a little bit of research on you, I saw that you sing. So tell us a little bit more about that before we get into all the other stuff that people want to know about. Let's talk about what you do, so that I think on Ready to Love, most of the time we don't get a chance to see much about you all besides your dating, how you interact with on the dating scene. But
Yeah.
let's talk about your career. So have you been doing this for a while, singing, or
I
is this something you've always done?
No, I mean I've done it a long time, but I'm a bit of a late bloomer. I didn't start singing professionally until after 30. So I've been professional in this game as a singer since 2006.
Okay.
And I also fit model as well. So that means, and I always have to clarify because the assumption is that it involves fitness, and it doesn't.
Okay.
Fitness and fit modeling is two different things. As a fit model, my body is used as a mannequin, basically exact replica of a size 6 mannequin. So the measurements have to stay, which is why fitness, that part of my life works so well for this, because it helps me keep my job.
Right.
But with that, I give feedback to the technical designers about what's wrong with the garment. Like, I can't lift my arms, or the armhole's too high. You need to lower it 2 inches. The crotch is digging in. It's a little uncomfortable, about the functionality, the wearability of the clothing. And after we do a few rounds of that and it gets just perfect, then it gets shipped out for mass production and sold. So it's a niche, very specific kind of job in the modeling world. It's not the glamorous part in front of the camera, but it's steady and it's good to me.
I love
So
it. I didn't even know that was such a thing.
yeah,
Um, that is so interesting. And you definitely look like you could be a fitness model, like actually like doing the fitness. How do you maintain? Because one of the first things that we noticed about you is, number one, you're absolutely drop dead gorgeous, but then you also mentioned your age, and it was like, what? And what I loved, and we, myself and Kojo from Little Black Book, we recap Ready to Love, and I remember saying, I really really admire a woman who can be in her space and feel comfortable, because so often we don't want to talk about our age,
No.
especially if we're in a, if we're around a lot, women that are a little bit younger. And that was the case there.
Yeah.
Have you always been just really candid and comfortable in your own skin?
I was that girl, Crystal. I haven't. At the end of my 30s, I wasn't ready for 40, and I was just petrified that, like, I am not prepared. I'm not ready. I don't feel like I'm where I need to be yet. I've not accomplished things I want to accomplish. I'm still, like I told you, I started singing professionally after 30, maybe 30, 32 or something. So I was still in that place of like, what am I doing with this? Where can I go with it? How can I really make an impact? How can I be memorable in this business, in this industry? Am I going to be able to take care of myself forever doing this? Is this something I should, it was a lot of that. And I did not welcome 40 at all. My closest girlfriends will tell you I fought that thing tooth and nail. And even though I wasn't really a person that lied about my age, I just didn't want to talk about it. So people would ask me like, how old are you? And I'm like, how old do I look? And
oh my God. So you know what? A lot of people do that.
Yeah.
I hate when people do that, because you're kind of stuck. And I've honestly, a few times people have said, how old do I look? And I'll say the number, and then they'll be upset because it's actually closer to the number.
Yes.
They expect you to say, if they're 50 and they say that, they expect you to say they look 30. But it was like, well, you look about 49. It's like, it's like, don't make me do that. Don't.
I'm grateful. The melanin, we really are a favorite people. So that helps us all. I know that is a big envy about how Black don't crack. And it's true that we are born with that beautiful blessing from God to age so gracefully. But I also happen to come from, on both sides, amazing genes. So that has helped. But I think the truth of it is, I went plant-based 2 years ago. I'm eating fish now because I'm athletic, it wasn't enough protein. So I did have to incorporate fish, but I have found that the real fountain of youth and the real trick, I think, to like aging well, it is in our diet. And I got pulled into that whole concept because at 43, 44, I'm like, yeah, I need to be able to I want to still be limber, and I want to be able to run and exercise and wear heels and still keep it fly. I'm 50, 60, 70 years old. I don't want my body breaking down. I don't want conditions with my organs. And I had uterine fibroids. That's really what led me down that path to begin with.
Okay.
And so all of that put together, I'm like, I got to do this aging thing well in order for me to embrace it. But initially, no, I wasn't comfortable. And when I started telling my age and people would do that thing, oh, you look good for your age, it's just like, God, I would cringe inside because I never wanted that, but yeah, I got to a place around 45, my 45th birthday, and I'm just like, sis, you can't do anything about the years are gonna keep rolling. And you don't get older, so why not just bask in how gracefully and well you're aging, and the fact that you still can go out here and run a 5K in like less than 30 minutes, like be good with that and own that part. And now I'm feeling others be inspired and that feel like, okay, if you look this way at this age, then I can too. Let me get my act together. What are you doing? And it opens up a whole nother conversation. So now I completely embrace it. I'm like, I'm 46. I'm 46.
Well, I love it. And I think, like I said, I think it's just difficult for women. It's a total different thing. Age is something very different for women than it is for men.
Yeah, because they age so gracefully and they get to still play and have fun, and they age well, and they can date down in terms of age. So
they definitely date down. And I think for a lot of women, it's the biological part of it, right? So it's like you can't, whatever you want to do, you kind of got to get some of that in, because we know the older we get, it's not as easy to have children. But I also think like youth and beauty are just, I'm sorry, y'all. My dog is just tripping today. This is Sugar.
What are you Really?
Say hi, Sugar Pie, because she is doing a lot.
Yeah,
Um,
she's
but
horrible.
yeah, it is that way. So you mentioned um goals and not being where you thought you wanted to be in life. And I think I can relate to that, and I'm sure a lot of other people can as well. Did you have certain goals or certain ideals of where you wanted to be as far as your love life or a relationship or married or any of that? Did that play into where you felt like you wanted to be by 40?
It didn't. It didn't at all. It didn't at all because I was a little jaded with my concept and my view of love from a child all the way on up into my adulthood. It just wasn't something that I saw for myself because I didn't like the way it looked for the women in my family.
Mhm.
And it was just not a priority to me. And then I realized that in my younger years, the relationships that I was entertaining and that I was in, like I just, I felt like I'm not really even sure what I should be looking for in a partner. Like I don't even really know how to choose the right person for me, or how I should be conducting myself. Like what's my role exactly in this relationship? Like it really felt, I felt out of place trying to force myself to be in something. Like, well, what's the end game here? Am I trying to be somebody's wife? Am
Mhm.
I trying to have kids? What am I doing? So um, when I graduated college, Florida A&M, the highest of seven hills in Tallahassee, Florida,
Okay.
I went for it and I decided to go to Los Angeles and just give it a try because it was the one thing that I thought the entertainment industry
Okay.
was the one thing that I felt like, okay, maybe I can thrive here. It's something that I can enjoy. I'm not a corporate person. And as I just went for it, because a lot of that is just going for it. Like you put yourself out there, you don't necessarily have a plan per se, you don't have money saved, you follow the passion of wanting to be an artist or an actor or model or whatever. And I didn't see how a marriage or a relationship, I did have a relationship where um, the guy in it did not support what I wanted to do.
Okay.
And I allowed myself to shift towards what he wanted because I felt, well, he's a good guy and he comes from such a great family, and his life and his family life and his views on his life are so different than what I saw in the men in my family. Like this probably would be a great situation if I were to do it.
Okay.
But I lost myself a little bit in it because I was real impressionable at the time and I wanted whatever he wanted for me.
Mhm. Okay.
And it took a few years for me to like snap out of that, but I do feel like I lost myself a bit. And from that, it was just like, we're not doing that again. Like
Mhm.
how I am, who I am, what I want from my life. He's gonna have to, my person,
Mhm.
he's gonna have to absolutely adore all of that. Don't try to change me, don't try to cage me, don't try to quiet me, don't
Mhm.
try to make me fit, and don't make me into your mother. Don't
Yeah.
all of that. And so a relationship and a man were not my priority because I needed to get out here, Crystal, and
Mhm.
figure me out. I needed to be my own person, be comfortable with me as a person, and feel whole as a person.
Mhm.
And that relationship taught me about, and again, what I saw growing up, you
Yeah.
choose the wrong partner, it can really derail your life.
That is facts. Absolutely facts. I think
Can
that
do.
true for both men and women. If you guys are just joining, we are talking with April from this season, Miami Ready to Love. We know that she left too soon, but we're getting to know Miss April a
Yeah.
little better tonight. She is a singer and a model, and like I said, I didn't even know that type of modeling existed. But how cool and how awesome to be able to be a perfect size 6.
Yes. Well, it's not easy. I mean, I work for my coins. Do believe.
Well, it looks well. It paid off, and the rest of us are definitely admiring from afar because there's nothing. But anyway,
I hope
definitely,
to inspire. That's all I can ask. I hope to inspire. So thank you.
yeah. Well, that is inspirational. Let's talk a little bit. So, How old were you when you were in that relationship that you realized, okay, I don't want to revisit this type of situation again?
So that would have been like 2004. 2004 to 2005. I can't do the math right in my head. So I don't know, late 20s, early 30s when I entered the relationship.
Okay.
And like I said, it lasted a few years. And then I started singing professionally. Like literally, I came out of that relationship and I went full throttle back into entertainment because I knew that I was abandoning something, a passion of mine. So I jumped right back on in early 30s, starting over from the beginning. So yeah, it had been a long time since really taking a man seriously. There was a relationship that did happen during COVID, so we can totally go there and talk about that. But between then and 2020.
Wow. Okay. So you're just focused on your career, focused on, and I've been in entertainment. I was an entertainment publicist for years. So I know that industry demands a lot of you.
It
And
does.
it's almost like either you're going to do this or you're going to do that.
Yeah, because I mean, trying to have a man or kids hanging in the balance of your ambition in this industry, like I just didn't wish it on myself because I knew I would be placed in an ultimatum and I knew what I'd have to give up. And if I ever got married and had kids, I wanted it to be on my terms. And I just wanted to feel satisfied with what I've done with this, career, the ambitious part of me, as opposed to like giving it up.
Yeah. And having regrets later. And maybe resenting the other person for keeping you from that. So, okay. So you were single for a nice little stint, which I definitely can feel that happens a lot. And then you got into a relationship during COVID. So many people did.
Yeah.
Because we were like, first of all, what is happening? And it felt very much like, okay, everybody was re-examining their priorities at that point.
Yes.
We're sitting down, we're in the house. We don't know what's happening. We're out of control. And that led a lot of people to relationships. And it also broke up a lot of relationships because
people realize that I don't really like you.
Right. Or just not dealing with stressful. We're in the house. It's just going. So what was that relationship like? How long was that? And what led you to make the choice to be in that, after being out of one for so long?
Honestly, it was him. This was a man and I'd known him. So he wasn't like brand new to my life. So, that was something that gave me a lot of comfort because there was already a friendship established, which for me is key. We have to be friends first. Okay. I don't want to feel like I have to impress you or, I have to keep certain sides of me hidden or not be open and transparent with you because I want to make this good impression. Like that part of dating and meeting someone new, I've always hated. And so out the gate, it wasn't on that at all. Like it wasn't me being glammed and me being, put together all the time. It really was, I'm in my head wrapped because I couldn't get my hair done. And I am just here at home, not working because everything's shut down. And of course, the entertainment industry probably ate it the worst out of many industries, but there was nothing for us. We couldn't work all year for the most part.
Yeah.
And in that time, I was so stripped down and I was just so not like about the industry. I wasn't all on social media. I wasn't doing nothing. I was just like, this is time to be still. I'm gonna focus on my home. I went plant-based during that time. So it was a lot of, let me work on me and get my health, my diet, my space, my home together. So he is a man that is just, he knew what he wanted. He was very traditional. And it was different. He really wanted to court and he would ask, can I come by and see you? And, I kind of appreciated the different approach he was taking because he was so serious about just prioritizing me. And he made it very clear that he really did want a wife and he would love to have a son. He has a daughter. And he was just so intentional and genuine and such a gentleman. So it was all of these things. And I kept saying, well, yeah, but things are quiet for me right now because of COVID, but I'm not always home like this. And I'm not always like this chill. Like I'm I'm out there getting it,
Yeah.
So, but he was just so sincere and so loving that I thought, it's been so long and I've not made room for anyone. I should maybe this is a time for me to maybe pour into this part of my life too, just as I am with everything else that I mentioned. Maybe my heart and that very intimate part of me needed to connect too. And so, yeah, I decided, okay,
Mm-hmm.
why not? Wonderful relationship, but because he was just so much further along in terms of what he wanted, he was ready to be married and really ready to like plan forever together. And I was coming into it really kind of hesitant, like, let's just slow it down,
Yeah.
rush. Let's And so that ended up being a constant kind of issue with him, just trying to like, he's acting from that space of I'm ready to marry you tomorrow. And
Mm-hmm.
I was existing in the relationship with him in a space of, but I adore you. And I just simply want to take it day by day and be present right now. I don't want to talk about forever. I just want us to build right now. Let me get to where you are.
Mm-hmm.
And it got a little tough. And eventually,
You guys weren't on the same page. That's just, because if he wants a wife, there will be somebody that's ready to be a wife, and then there will be somebody that's ready to be patient. Take it day by day with you as
yeah,
well. So
yeah.
that definitely makes sense. Now, I'm listening to your story and to a little bit about you, and I'm thinking like, for this, I'm interested to know what about Ready to Love appealed to you, because that definitely the dating situation on the show, everybody's seen the show, and if people haven't seen it, by the time they get on the show, they have watched it, or at least looked for it before. And that not necessarily being, because people come on the show, the idea of it is to find your love, find your forever love.
Mhm.
And if you're not in that space, or you're not sure about that, what was it that was appealing about the opportunity to be on Ready to Love?
So what I did get, what I gained from that relationship that I was in,
Mm-hmm.
was that the things of it that I enjoyed immensely. Like I
Okay.
really, really appreciated that level of companionship and partnership. Um, and I'm like, well, I don't want to be pressured to get married if I'm not ready to.
Mm-hmm.
But I am wide open though to exploring a relationship like this where the exchange is just, I mean, it's a beautiful exchange, an intimate exchange, a transparent exchange, the friendship of it, having like a man. So being independent and single for so many years,
Yeah.
I get very tunnel visioned about, like, I take care of everything for myself. I manage everything on my own.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been doing that and operating like that for so long that I forgot what it was like to have a gentleman that's just like, don't touch the door. What are you doing? Put your wallet down. I'm paying for this meal and all meals. Like, like it was just kind of like, oh yeah, that's right. This is the
Yeah.
beauty of being in a relationship with a real one.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Did it
I,
make did it make you realize that you had missed that during those years of being single?
yeah, it made me realize just how underdeveloped I had become in that area.
In that area, yeah.
And so yes, there were things about it that made me feel like, I don't have to hold on to my single title forever and feel like this is such a badge of honor to be independent and to be single and to say I did it all on my own and I got what I got without anyone's help. I don't need a man to take care of me. Like, that's something that the strong Black woman says, but in reality, I do think we all need balance.
Yeah.
And we want to have a man that knows how to be a man,
Mm-hmm.
and that will come in and just kind of like really contribute and add
Yeah.
that presence, to your life. So yeah, I was very honest with myself about, well, if I can connect with someone that is just more aligned with me and not necessarily feeling the need to pressure certain aspects of the relationship, but I can experience this kind of loving connection with, let me stay open, because I don't want to edge myself out of having love.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go the rest of my life single this way. So this is a great time for me to actually like, let me do some introspection and maybe try,
Yeah.
be more open and make room.
Okay. Now I have to ask you this because we know that a lot of people at this point, Ready to Love is a show that I think the majority of the cast usually, it's well, I would say half and half. A lot of people get on the show because it's an opportunity, right?
Yep. Yep.
And especially with you being an artist and well, being in the music industry and performing and doing things like that. A lot of times, even myself as a publicist, I don't know if I would have suggested a client be on a dating show, but you definitely are looking for opportunities to get exposure. So did that play into your head at all? Like this could possibly help my career?
So, I mean, to be 100 with you, Crystal,
Mhm.
everyone
Yeah.
enjoys the 15 minutes that we get from being on these shows, right? That is just built in and it's going to be a part of it.
Yeah.
Being in the industry that I'm in, of course, I'm like, well, this will be cool to see what happens there.
Mhm.
But I also know that me actually connecting with a man and being authentic is not something that I can fake.
Right.
And because of what I experienced in that previous relationship, I knew that I was in a very different place to want a very specific kind of connection.
Yeah.
And the vetting process, as you know, other cast members have told you, like
Yeah.
it's pretty grueling and it's
Yeah.
very lengthy, 3-4 months long.
Mhm.
And I felt very good about the odds
Yeah.
of being a really great match for me specifically, because if they cast me on this show at this point, they know my blood type. So they have to have some really great ideas as to like who are good candidates, who are great matches for each and every person. I know it's kind of like a ratio thing where you have one personality type that can probably date 3 or 4 people in the mix type thing. But I was very curious to see at that level and with that kind of vetting who might be out there,
Yeah.
And to be honest, even if my guy was not going to be in that group of 10 men, I mean, that's a group of 10 men that I didn't choose.
Right.
So I wasn't ever feeling like, let me go into this because I plan to find my husband. I'm going to connect. I was very open and very, I was very about the process.
Mhm.
I wanted to experience it exactly as it's intended. But at the end of the day, this platform does allow what I want to attract and what I desire to be
Right.
heard on a much grander scale.
Platform. Yeah.
So I didn't see how I could lose by taking the opportunity. So I did it.
Yeah. Well, you did, and we got a chance to meet you and the other singles at the first mixer. Another thing that I noticed about you is that you were very warm and very welcoming to the other ladies, and I thought that was really dope because we know a lot of women come in more so than men. We haven't really seen, men come in and you can feel that jealous energy or that kind of off-putting energy.
Yes.
But a lot of times the women are kind of like standoffish from each other, or we saw some other stuff with some other your castmates, just kind of being catty and not kind. And you definitely had very different energy. What was your first initial thoughts when you arrived at the pool party, the pool party mixer?
Well, just that I was prepared for it all. I've got a few years under my belt, so I'm like, I get how this can go. It can be very catty. It can be very side-eye-ish. But I have always been a person that can control my energy and control the environments that I'm in. Because that's going on, that doesn't mean it has to be with me or directed at me. And it wasn't. And it wasn't. Because that is, I lead with love. I lead with warmth. I lead with like peace. And I don't do well in situations where I feel the low vibrations in me are getting agitated, because I don't really want to be tempted to go there. I have them. We all have high vibes.
Right.
But I was adamant going into this process that I'm not letting anybody take me down any rabbit holes. I'm not doing it. And I knew that I wouldn't give any of the ladies any real reason to like come for me. And if they did, okay, I'm here for that too, but it's still going to be handled with grace and class, because that's not what I'm here to represent with anybody.
Right.
So
right.
That was important to me, to have a really great spirit about my female castmates.
Well, you definitely did that. If you guys are just joining, please go ahead and hit that like button. Great conversation happening right here with the very beautiful April. We're talking about her experience on Ready to Love, kind of hearing what we didn't get a chance to see on camera. Make sure that you hit the like button. If you're just joining, you also should go ahead and share this broadcast so that other people can hear and kind of get to know April a little bit more as well. So we're talking about when you first entered. So the ladies, before I go to the guys, did you sense, because it seemed like when they first entered, you, like you said, you definitely led that way. Did you sense different energy with some of the other ladies, or maybe some other people not having that same experience?
No, I didn't. I feel like every lady that I met on the cast, they were all very cool. I actually rather enjoyed the vibe. I was really relieved and thrilled that the vibe was like cool. Everyone is having fun. At least I'm looking at things with rose-colored glasses, right? So I'm gonna see the positive. There obviously was some shade being thrown and some cattiness here and there. But from the outside looking into it, you didn't really see that or feel that. Everyone was like hanging out all, in the pool together and, really engaging. You saw a lot of people, legs touching and hands touching, and already like there's already physical contact, because everyone felt comfortable enough to let their hair down. And even though it was probably the most awkward situation ever, because we don't know these people, right, and cameras are rolling and we're wearing mics and, but no, I didn't get any off-putting, and I hope I'm answering your question about, there was no off-putting energies to me with the other ladies, and everyone really seemed to just kind of like come into the situation with openness and just being willing to, connect with the ladies and the men.
Right. Well, then the next question is, okay, so we heard a little bit about your dating past. Who was your physical type? When you looked at the guys, you come in there, all the guys have got shirts off. Everybody in there was showing off what they had, right? It was like, come go hard or go home. So when you first get your initial look and all you're seeing is the physical, who in the room were the ones that you were immediately like, that's my physical type, or I want to know more about him, or I want to definitely make my way over to have a conversation with him?
Right out the gate, it was definitely Mike, because I like them tall, I like them muscular, I love a beautiful smile, and he had all that going. So out the gate, definitely Mike, just on the physical. Okay. And I saw Calvin for like 2 seconds.
Yeah.
He said, "Hey, I'm April." We shook hands, but there was so much happening and we were being pulled a lot. And I think I might have been trying to rush off to get to the restroom because, they needed the whole cast to come over and do something. So it was literally 2 seconds. And I saw height and I saw muscles. So I'm just like, okay, so they did give me some good options.
I'm not mad at that. I think a lot of people, it seemed like actually the two guys that we did see interactions with you were Mike and Justice. And a lot of the other ladies, they seemed like they were in the top for a lot of ladies on that initial, the initial mixer. So what was it about Justice that were you attracted to Justice?
So I initially I saw him, but I didn't set in on him like, okay, him, who is that? I want to talk to him. It wasn't that. Justice came over and he introduced himself, and he was very intentional about getting a moment with me.
Okay.
And I am really big on a man making the first move. Yeah. I'm not pursuing a man, and I don't want to have to feel like I gotta do the most to get his attention or to get him to see me in a room full of women. Either you see me or you don't. Right. I mean, if you know, you know.
Right.
I felt like he really kind of like beeline towards me and made sure that we had a few opportunities to sit down and talk. And I think I ended up missing a lot of what was going on with the rest of the cast because I found this little cabana that was far off from everybody. It was noisy, it's loud, and everybody, it was just a lot of energy going on. And I wanted to talk and I wanted to engage with him, and I get distracted easy. So I had to get away from all of that.
So I had to make sure that you got yourself set up. So we did see some conversation with you and Justin, and you seem to be really feeling his conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And so talk to us about that, because as we continue to watch the series, I've got like a hair in my eye or something. As we continue to watch the series, some of the other ladies have issues with Justice conversation. So from your perspective, what was that vibe like? What was the conversation like? Did you see any red flags? Because we've heard him say like he's not into spending money. He doesn't like talking on the phone. Like it's a lot going on that wasn't in that initial conversation with you. But I was wondering, like, did April get any of this?
No.
Energy he's giving other people?
So this gets interesting. So the first conversations we had at the mixer, no, I wasn't getting those vibes from him. That was just like, okay, you might be a red flag. He was very smooth, and he does have that beautiful, sexy, deep voice. So
yes, he does. He has an amazing voice. So like a radio voice. I don't know what he's doing, but he needs to do something with that voice. Yeah,
I agree. It's very smooth. So he was, making love to my ears. And it I guess because our conversation went towards he shared about being a single father, and that, I asked him about his dad and was his dad involved and what that relationship was like. And that opened us up on a whole, like we just connected there because we had that in common. And I think because maybe that's a place within him that is very vulnerable, and he was so willing to share and open. He was open about that. I didn't really get red flags. If anything, I got that, this guy might be really attuned with himself, and this could be a really great friendship and then potential relationship to evolve. By the time those conversations were being had, we had that came up in our first ladies lounge. And when it was brought up, I was just kind of like, wait, what? I didn't get from him that he would even be on that.
Yeah.
But on our first, I had a date. So you didn't see any of my dates. I still don't know why that happened. I had a date with Alonzo and a date with
interesting.
Right. So you didn't see it.
Yeah.
So my date,
both of those, because there's trouble on both sides. Let's talk about both of those.
Yes. I will start with Justice because he's a little easier to unpack for me because the vibe was good. We had a great date. And at that point, we hadn't talked on the phone either. And it wasn't just him. I kind of feel like the men in general some people probably had connected. So just to give you a proper timeline, we had to space things out a little bit because Looney had COVID.
Right.
So that happened after the very first mixer. So we had like a whole week in between. We filmed again. And in that time, I just wasn't talking to anyone. They took our phones quite a bit throughout the day. So we didn't have them a lot of the day to just make sure folks weren't posting and like really kind of giving spoilers and stuff. So yeah, that it just didn't happen in terms of like, okay, let me get your number. And again, I'm not offering my number to anybody. So if you don't ask, I'm
not mad at that. Yeah.
When we had our first date, I had to ask. I'm like, so enlighten me. How are we supposed to connect when you've not asked for my phone number and we've not had a single conversation outside of the group things that we've done to film? So he did break that down for me and just explain that, like, this whole thing, I easily can see how messy it can get. I don't want anyone feeling like I led them on or that they thought that there was something developing when I'm really just trying to and I understood it. Like, Mike also had a very similar sentiment, and that gave me I had to give these guys grace to a degree because they're thrown into the same, and I hate to say madness, but they're thrown, I mean, it's chaos.
Yeah.
To be honest, just so much happening. And these guys are feeling pressure. They're uncomfortable. They're kind of like, oh my God. And of course, we're in these swimsuits. We're out, I get it,
Yes.
And so for him, it was like, I want to figure out where my actual connection is. And I need a minute, to kind of process and get to know everybody. And I didn't want to go in spending all of this time talking to all of these women on the phone. I really just want to kind of hone in and focus on one. So I was like, okay, that's respectable. I ain't mad at it. The money thing didn't come up.
Okay. Like the money, but I still wonder, because the thing about Ready to Love is you have to make connections.
Yeah.
Then also you have to at least have a good rapport with the other ladies, because otherwise they can send you home. So if you're not talking to anybody, it's confusing to me as to how he thought he would be able to stay on the show. And I mean, he's still there, so I guess it's working, but it's just weird to say, like, I don't want to lead anybody on. I don't want to reach out. I mean, not to call or anything, because that just doesn't make sense on this show, because it moves very quickly. So you guys are going to have a ladies lounge, have a conversation. They're going to choose. And it's like, if you're not putting any effort in anywhere, how do you expect to stay on? And if you don't expect to stay on, why did you even sign up?
I think so. I think Justice is a very confident man. And there's also a bit of mysticism about him. And I think he knows how to work that well, because all the ladies were intrigued with him on that first day.
Initially, right. And
going into like week 2, week 3, then it did kind of become,
what's happening?
So what's up with you? Because now it's just like, this doesn't make sense. And so you have some interesting views on this whole thing. Like, why are you even here? Like that was coming up for him.
Yeah.
We did exchange numbers after that first date. So he and I were talking almost every day after that.
Okay. So he does talk on the phone.
Yes.
Okay. All right. And
definitely we're connecting. And it appeared to me, I'm like, okay, well, this actually might be my strongest connection. So it was cool. But
was this conversation, you enjoyed this conversation?
At times, yes, but then at times I'm like, okay, you losing me. Like, where are you going? Come back. Like
the cosmic, the cosmic.
I was about to say that about this cosmic, because that has come up. He mentions that often, and I'm just like, okay. So he's kind of one of these guys that's on this abstract kind of, like, his ideas of being in a relationship probably are going to be outside of the parameters of what most people experience or even seek out. Right. So he definitely would be an interesting person to date, but how long a woman would like really find that intriguing, attractive, or sexy is another thing.
Yeah.
So I didn't get far enough with him to even find out any of that. So.
Okay. So let's talk about Alonzo, because we did not get a chance to see your date with him, and we didn't get a chance to really see you guys really having any real interaction. He was kind of mysterious to me as well. We saw some conversations from him, but what was that date like? And did you feel like you had a connection with him?
I didn't with Alonzo. I didn't. And again, so he's not really my type to begin with.
Okay.
But I was completely open, and I did not want to lead with, well, he ain't dark enough. He ain't tall enough. He ain't
muscles enough. Right.
That's not what it was for me. In the end, I was just like, okay, well, it really does make sense, because he really isn't my type. Okay. But the date with Alonzo was it was interesting, because I wanted to connect and talk. We're the same age. He's 46 too. So I already coming into this thing, I'm like, well, half the men, what are we going to talk about? Like,
right.
So with him, I was really, and Justice is a few years younger than me. So there was kind of like that thing too, like, where's that going to show up? Because I'm sure it's going to show up, you know, that age difference. And
Yeah.
but with Alonzo, I'm like, okay, let's go. Got a man
conversation, right?
Grown man conversation, grown up conversation, but it was kind of difficult kind of breaking through and really getting to know him, because I don't know that he was wanting to share with me just intimately like I wanted. I felt like at this point we've had some life experiences. We've had some failed relationships, or in his, maybe a failed marriage on his side. I know he has a daughter, I believe. So I'm like, let's talk at that level of like what we've learned and why we're here, and what life has kind of thrown our way, and how we've ebbed and flowed to get here where we're at. Let's connect and talk. And it was just like a staticky kind of vibe and conversation. So I don't know, maybe that's why they just cut it, because there wasn't really anything sweet about the date, and he was in a rush to leave afterwards. So that for me was like, okay.
Yikes. Now, do they pick who goes on dates, or did he ask you out on a date to get to
Crystal? That's them. We unfortunately,
I'm pulling, I'm reaching, I'm trying. I'm like, okay, okay. So you guys are basically put on a date, and it did not work.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we got to get to Mr. Mike, because there's a lot of people in the comments that scene with you and Mike and Kayla got a lot of comments online, a lot of people talking about it.
Yes.
And so I know there's probably a lot more than we saw. So we're going to give you an opportunity to kind of explain what happened. What it looked like is that they were talking, they were having a good time. And then it felt like you had interest in Mike. You guys may have, had this connection. So you came over and kind of interrupted their situation. And then things went horribly wrong. So in your perspective, how did that happen?
So if any of you have watched this show from season 1, we know that is a part of the vibe of the show, that there's a woman always comes and interrupts. And in the past seasons, when I tell you, I'm like, I hate that. I've hated it. And I'm like, this is like really bold. These chicks are like really out here, like just putting it out there for these dudes. Don't care. Like, can I cut in? And it's just, I'm like, they doing a lot.
It looks a bit pick-me-ish, right?
It does. As I saw some of those comments about me, and I'm just like, man, if y'all only knew, that was not my choice.
Okay.
Something I wanted to do.
Okay.
And I actually, when I was asked to go over to join their conversation, I'm like, can I not? I really would let them talk, let them vibe.
Yeah.
Let me get a moment with Mike when he's by himself or not talking to someone. I have no desire, because I know what I would feel if I finally got 5 minutes with this man that I've really been wanting to talk to, and here you come, you know?
Exactly.
But in that moment, I was just like, oh, right. That's okay.
Part of the show, right?
This is part of the process. So, me being graceful, I didn't want to be difficult about that. Looking back on it, I wish I had, because I ended up getting eliminated like in the next sit down men's lounge with Tommy. So really, what did I have to lose? I probably should have just been like, get somebody else. I'm not doing it. But I did. I obliged it, and I went on down. And looking back, I had to laugh at myself at the way I sat down and flipping my ponytail back. It was, but that was not me. That was not something I would ever do in real life. And I think that I did it on that show.
Right.
But what I am definitely going to share is what you didn't see, because that whole scene had me looking crazy and thirsty. And I was pissed off, Crystal, about that.
Okay.
Back in episode 2, when we had our first ladies lounge, I said what I said. There's no connection with Mike.
Yeah.
As much as aesthetically and as good looking as he is, and as much as he is my type, there just really isn't anything there. I made peace with that at the brunch.
Okay.
I was good with it because, again, I want what's for me, and I want every lady here to have what's for her.
Right.
So I didn't have a reason to feel no way that there wasn't any real energy with Mike. I'm kind of obedient with God and the universe when it comes to that. If it ain't for, and I always feel like if a man ain't like into you,
don't do it.
He married, he got a girlfriend, he's gay, or he's just not into you.
Not into you, right? Yeah. Yeah.
So nothing for me to take personal. It's just what he's looking for. If it ain't this, no problem, bro.
Please go on. Now, before you go into this, let me ask you this. When they asked you to go over and enter the conversation, did they also give you instructions on to start, the interaction between the two of you?
No, that part they leave to be organic, and whatever comes up and however you kind of nestle yourself into this already,
awkward
conversation, they allow that to just be natural. But the direction to go over there, yeah, that's the show.
Okay.
So what you didn't see though is that Mike was actually a bit in his feelings that B. Sharice and Kadian had named him in our bottom from the ladies' lounge.
Oh, well, how do you know that?
Well, I know it because he let me know.
Oh, okay.
So prior to us getting inside the building and to film, I walked past and I didn't realize he was sitting in his car. So, he's like, hey, what's up? What's going on? I'm like, oh, what's up, Mike? Because at this point, it's like, hey, what's going on? Like, we ain't keeping it cute, really. I'm not necessarily trying to like give no flirty energy. To me, it's dead. And when I say that, I mean what I say. It's fine. But he's like, so what's up, man? You threw me in your bottom? I'm like, yeah, I did. Because you pretty much, now Mike said two things to me. One thing at the mixer and then another thing at the brunch. The first thing at the mixer was that, man, and he says I took it wrong, but I'm only lining up what you say with what your action is. So he says to me, you seem like the type of chick that, a guy really needs to have his shit together if he's going to talk to you. And I'm looking at him like, yeah, you are absolutely right.
Absolutely. Right.
Right. Do we have a problem with that?
Yeah. What woman is into people that don't have their shit together? Okay.
So I thought that was an interesting comment, but I'm just like, okay, so what does that mean? But he kind of like talked over it and kind of, his way of communicating.
Yeah.
Is, I'm like, I'm reading between lines, but I would rather you just say what it is so then we ain't got to play this game. So it kind of got left like that. We didn't get on to talk there either. It was like literally 3 minutes to 5 minutes, whatever. At the brunch, then he says to me, you're not really the type of chick I would date. And I'm like, okay, so what does that mean? And he's just like, well, I'm not saying that you're not attractive. I'm not saying you're just different. And I'm just trying to put all of this together like, okay, but what does that mean? You know? So it's just like, your vibe. I see how you move. I love your style. I mean, you got something to you, and I'm really intrigued, but I'm trying to figure out exactly what this thing is that you have, because I see it and I feel it. And when we look into each other's eyes, I feel something, because we literally are eye gazing each other through, so I'm just like, well, there's something here, but I'm now confused as to what it is.
Okay.
So I allowed the brunch to kind of play itself out, but Mike was definitely connecting and talking with others, but not with me. So I said, okay, that was my confirmation and I'm good.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So when he questioned why I put him in the bottom, now I'm looking at him like, well, I'm not sure what you're expecting me to do. You pretty made it very clear, and I'm not here to like convince you. So exactly, give me a chance, man. I mean, you see what's going on. This is so intense. It's a lot happening. We got to talk to all these different people. The producers, man, it's just, this is crazy. I ain't never been in this, like literally. And I'm like, oh, okay. So you're overwhelmed like everyone else. And maybe you just kind of don't know how you want to play this or what. So I let it be.
Okay.
So I joined the conversation with him and Kayla. I sit next to Kayla intentionally. So
Okay.
I want y'all to go back and see that if you didn't catch it. I first
Mhm.
sit next to her, and then you see me plop down next to Mike. And that is because Mike says, "Oh, you got to come here. You got to, we need to talk. We need to
Oh
get
wow.
to this." And I'm like, "Say less, let's." Now, mind you, I'm sitting on the edge of a couch right now. He was on the edge of like a sectional. There was like really no space to sit. But
Okay.
I'm like, okay, but you want me to come sit over there, so I sure will. Because at the end of the day, Mikey is gorgeous. I mean, we're not blind, are we?
Right.
So
Right.
I'm gonna enjoy the moment. So I get over there, and he extends his arm, and I snuggled on up in there, like,
Yeah.
okay. So
Yeah. You had
and
your leg on him, and
you know, I'm like, I'm going to enjoy the moment. I don't think
Okay.
any woman watching this would have done anything different. Would have most certainly found a little nook and got up in there too.
Right.
And so his conversation, and I know Kayla was annoyed, but she knows what it is at the same time. And I'm just looking at her like,
It is what
so
girl.
conversation that, he literally, like, the conversation just switched now to me because Mike has a bone to pick. He's in
Mhm.
his feelings, and he wanted it to be known that, like, when I said a guy got to have his shit together, I wasn't talking about me. I mean, I feel like you think I was talking about me. I said, Mike, you said what you said, and then you proceeded to not bother to exchange numbers or to pursue any opportunities for us to talk. I'm
Mhm.
pretty sure I got that right by assuming that you are not interested. How am I wrong about that? And there was a lot of back and forth,
Okay.
but Crystal, it was so playful and actually kind of cute.
Mhm.
Um, and we were very close up on each other having this conversation. I was really thinking, I'm like, okay, I know the cameras are getting this energy. I'm wondering how they're going to play this,
Yeah.
but it was fun. It was a lot of banter because that's just kind of how Mike's energy is. And I matched his energy. And
Mhm.
we had fun in that moment.
Okay.
I will be damned on that episode and was just like, oh my damn.
So, because it did seem like you were asking him, was there interest? Did how, so you obviously had to say that because we saw, but what was the context? Why
Yes.
would you ask him that? Especially if he had already said, you're not the type I would date. So why did you decide, well, let me just add, I'm trying to figure out, like, did you know that you needed to have a conversation with him, or was it just like, what was the reason for kind of revisiting that? Is there something here between the two of us?
The only reason that I felt the need to go there again, because like I told you at the mixer, it's just like, and at the brunch, it's like he's talking, but he's not being very clear when he speaks. He's
Yeah.
not like sure about what he's saying.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yes, in that moment, I'm like, are you interested or are you not? Just tell me what that is. If you are not, let it be, because I'm good with it. But if you are, you would have to act accordingly and actually show that interest. So which is it? And if he wasn't contesting me and
Right.
challenging me on why I put him in the bottom, we wouldn't have been having that conversation. But I'm so thrown that you're challenging me about this. I'm
Right.
like, you told me I'm not your type. I don't understand why you are even in your
Weird. I
about
want to know, how did he know that? Like, are women going back and telling? Because that's not cool.
So that part, because he was repeating verbatim what I'd said in the ladies' lounge.
Mm-hmm.
And in that moment as well, I realized, I'm like, okay, so maybe that is not a safe space. You saw it play out for Shakira, the things that we talk about in there and the things that we're thinking we can just keep amongst ourselves, because the idea of the ladies' lounge is, and I'm not a kiss and tell person either, so I really didn't like even going back reporting what happened on my dates. Like, I'm a grown woman, why am it ain't your business what happened on my date, but it's the show, and I'm grateful.
It's the process.
I'm with the process, right?
Right.
So I realized in that moment, as he was telling me what I had said in that ladies' lounge, I don't know whether or not it's, more the producers or if it's the actual cast themselves.
Right.
When they're talking about everything that everyone is doing. I did not like that, because I'm like, not that I didn't say anything that I couldn't stand behind. I meant
Well, it's just that's not fair to put because that kind of sabotages everybody because you can't be honest if you
right.
know it's going to be used against you later. Like that's not cool.
Correct. So yeah, I was thrown by the fact that he knew everything like that. But I'm like, well, your actions. I heard kind of what you were trying to say, but you matched it with action. So Mike, if it ain't no connection, it ain't no connection. But
Yeah.
there was just nothing shown of him responding or of him saying, that's not true. It's not true. It's not, that's not, I am interested. I'm just trying to like figure my way out. I need a minute. I move slow with this kind of stuff. Okay, Mike, I'll give you that. I'll give you that grace. But it's just not how it was portrayed. So I wasn't happy, but I have this moment now to clear that up and tell y'all what it really was. So I appreciate, Crystal, that you opened that up for me.
Oh, absolutely. I after when we saw Mike's confessional after the scene, he seemed like he was really upset that you came over. That's not your fault. But it seemed at a point, and we can't tell if it's banter and playful. For us, it did seem like it got a little bit combative, right? Going back and forth.
Right.
So, and then when he followed up afterwards and was like, I'm not on, whatever, that energy, he didn't like it and he didn't want anything to do with it. And he was upset that you interrupted them. What did you expect that? Were you blindsided by that? Because it did look like y'all were like going at it a little bit. It was uncomfortable to watch the way that it was edited, right?
It was uncomfortable for me to watch. I was blindsided by it because so at this point, those confessionals happen after the fact. Like we're obviously giving an account of what has happened.
Right.
And at this point, so he and I also exchanged numbers that day.
Oh, wow.
Right.
That's interesting.
It is.
Okay.
And we talked, not daily, but we talked a lot. And leading up, so my elimination was 3 days after that. Tuesday, that was on a Saturday. My elimination was on a Tuesday. And we had talked quite a bit. And on the day of my elimination, beforehand, he was already like, I'm gonna be honest with you. I did put you in my bottom the first time we sat down with Tommy because I didn't really see it. And I mean, I'm gonna be honest. But then now that I've had a chance to like actually talk to you, you cool as hell. And I really, I can really see there being something here. I am not going there this time around because they had their men's lounge on that day. And he's like, so I just want you to know that going, because he knows, because everybody's talking. So I feel like he just really wanted to clear the air that at first I did put you on my bottom, but then when we meet today, that's not happening because I mean, you definitely a connection for me.
Wow.
So when I saw that, Crystal, I was so mad. I was so mad. I was because I'm like, well, this looks like the second men's lounge, the one that he said that he definitely would be speaking up for me and basically affirming his interest, not what we saw.
Yeah.
So when we did talk about it, I'm like, Mike, dude, what the hell? And why would you not just why would you go through all of that effort to be developing this friendship with me, and then you explain yourself only for it to not play out the way you said? Like that wasn't cool.
So I'm surprised that after that scene, you all talked and were going back and forth. That's so surprising because it seemed like he was done. Like it definitely seemed like he didn't want to talk to you anymore.
That's not what it was at all. So that part, I can't blame him for. Some of it, yes, because some of the things that he said, he obviously had to have said. However, things might have been spliced because that's something.
Yeah.
Several of the guys feel like, wait, I didn't say that sentence. I said this, and then I said this about a whole nother situation.
Gotcha. We've heard that.
This about you, and I didn't say that. And I'm just like, Jesus Christ, wow.
Yeah.
So some of it I'm like, Mike, but then some of it I can't be, because all of the conversation that led to or that was taking place where it really actually, and it was combative, but not in like, it was like we were shit talking.
Mm.
And it was fun. It really, I mean, we were literally, it was all laughs all the way through.
Mm-hmm.
But I saw how they had him looking exasperated and like it was I was stressing him out, and I'm like, oh my God, y'all are killing me with this edit. Are you serious? So it was nothing like the way it played out. Nothing.
Wow. Well, you know what? I meant to play this clip earlier, but we got into our conversation. So this is a clip from you with you and LJ at your when you left. And I will say I thought that I wasn't sure what was gonna happen. Because it seemed like you and Mike were kind of going back and forth, but your exit was one of the most graceful. And you know, people know when you come on the show, everybody's gonna leave eventually. You know what I mean? Like, so it's shocking the way certain people respond. I know everybody gets in their feelings sometimes, but again, I got to give you credit in the way you carried yourself with grace. Let's check out this clip of April and LJ. You know, as her time came to an end.
As far as the experience for now, they felt like, you know, you weren't ready to love at this point.
I received it. I understand.
But, you know, I definitely feel you're a great girl. That's kind of like the
cards play how the cards play. I am in the seat. It's okay. It's okay. Looking back on my experience, there isn't anything I could have done differently other than to be someone other than myself. And I wasn't with.
I love that. First of all, that fuchsia, whatever color you had on, is your color. You look absolutely striking. But that's really what it is. It is. It's not meant, and it's okay. Yep. And LJ is a sweetheart so far.
He is. Like, I had no reason to be in my feelings. I mean, going into that date, I already knew, you know, is if you're going on a date, the day that they do a lounge, women or men, they call it a bubble date. Either you're gonna be extended, you know, another opportunity to stay, or you're gonna be told that you're not ready. And at that point, I'm like, well, the odds are probably against me because I have not even talked to any of these 30-somethings at all, aside from the mixer, or, you know, there was no connecting going on there. So that leaves me with the remaining 440-somethings because Calvin was gone.
Okay.
At this point, I had a not so great date with Alonzo. So now we down to 3. And there really wasn't any energy with Samson. He kind of played me to the left too, but we weren't really, like, there was nothing really there. So that leaves me with 2 men out of all of them that I'm connecting with. And so I'm like, yeah, if it's a numbers game, prepare yourself, because this is probably not going to like really pan out. So that allowed me to be in a decent space, at least. I mean, no one likes the rejection. I mean, it's not a good feeling in the moment when it's happening, but the reality is there wasn't really anybody there for me. Not really.
Yeah.
What was I going to do? And when I made that comment about the only thing I could have done was be someone other than myself, it meant I would have just been carrying on just to be on that show, smiling and grinning and flirting with these men that I know good and well it ain't going nowhere. I don't feel nothing for you. I don't see what we can do for one another. And again, if my person isn't there, authenticity, that's all I have.
Yeah.
And I would want whoever my person is to see that, okay, so she definitely holds her own and she's not desperate to just be with any man, you know.
Stay in a little bit longer. No, I thought that was great. I love the fact that you said you would not do anything different. So that lets, you know, you have no regrets. So that's the best way to go out. Wow. Yep. So how has watching the show been for you? Watching, especially before you left, like obviously the situation, that scene with Mike, I'm sure was difficult to watch. And then of course, hearing others and reading other people's comments on that. But how is this all, like this entire experience being on the taping the show and then going on television, watching it back? How has this been for you?
a part of the inner workings of it and being on the other side of the camera and being in the process. Like when I tell you that there were just so many jaw-dropping, like shocking things about how this really goes. And we do so much in real time, and it's almost like we don't know what each other's saying about each other.
Right.
Like you don't know, you're engaging with someone, but you have no idea what they're saying to Tommy when they talk when they have those moments. So it's just like we're kind of acting, we're being ourselves, but still kind of acting in a way where I don't want this person to cut me down or say negative things or like talk trash about me or whatever. So in the moment, it's just like you're jarred, and you're jolted, and you're pulled, and a lot of it is not very organized. We're getting call times at short notice. A lot of it is, we're sitting around waiting forever before things actually happen. All of that stuff is happening in real time, and it's frazzling as hell, to be honest with you.
Especially the grown people that have other stuff going on. I would imagine that would be like,
it just becomes like, oh my God, like, get this together. And so then to watch, like when they announced the date, I immediately I was at the Essence Festival.
Oh, wow.
I was in New Orleans, and I got this text message. It's like, oh my God, have you seen this? And it was the trailer. Like we didn't even get any kind of advance notice about the air date. So I saw it, and Crystal, from that moment, so we talking 4th of July.
Yeah.
So whole month of July, I was just like, okay, here we go. This is happening. I don't know what to expect. I don't know how they're going to have us on here looking. I don't know what things they're going to capture. Now the concern for everybody was the editing.
Yeah.
So of course that anxiety just only grew once, as we're like, this is the week of, this thing is about to come out Friday. Like, oh Lord Jesus, like let's just. And I made sure for me, I do, because I'm in this industry. I'm not, like on TV like that, but I do
get entertainment, right?
You know what I mean? So it's like, don't say anything that can be chopped and used in any kind of way that you're not going to feel good about. So I was, obviously, because I don't have any moments that I truly regret or that I didn't like of myself, aside from how I was made to look with Mike. But that part I wasn't really that worried about. But just not having any control over how the editing was going to be was just absolutely nerve-wracking. I honestly thought the 19th, which would be this past Friday, I thought last Friday was going to be my elimination episode. So I'm watching episode 3, like, okay, maybe this is when they're going to actually get into my dates, and we'll see how things kind of transpired between me and Justice and me and Alonzo. And when the way it played itself, I was so shocked. I was so taken aback. Like, I don't even know what to do with this, Yeah. But again, I always defer to the high road. My girls get the low road because they can handle it.
That's how it's supposed to be. You keep that internal, and then you give everyone else,
and then let me show my face, say my piece, and like really kind of like, take this with a grain of salt and have a thick skin about it, because we do know that this is coming. We know that the trolls are going to have their way. They're going to find crap to talk about. They're going to absolutely drag us for anything that they can. And, we were prepped pretty well about that. Like, don't engage, don't give in. And it's hard because sometimes you want to go in like, you do want to go in and respond.
I always do. Candy said, I am not Michelle Obama. When you go low, I'm going low too. So I get, it can be difficult, but I do think, people are talking at the screen. They're not looking at you guys as real people. It's entertainment. So people are entertained by it. But I just want to say from you, sister to sister, you carried yourself with grace. Your exit, like I said, was one of the most graceful we've seen on the show. And even like I said, the way you came in is the way you left, with great class. And so I definitely, want to give you that and say we enjoyed that. I I hated that scene with Mike. It definitely helps to have a little bit of context to it, because I was like,
Sure.
I did think you liked Justice a lot, and I was like, because from what we're seeing in his confessionals and what he's saying to other people, I'm just like, well, it didn't make a lot of sense, but definitely that scene with Mike just seemed to come out of left field. So it was like,
did. So, and I'm glad, and I'm like, I hope that the viewers who are really that are not just in these comments and watching to pick everybody apart, but watching because they love the show and they see themselves in us, and that they're wanting these love stories to work. And that are looking at everyone's, like, some of the psychoanalysis that people are. I'm just like, wow, these folks sound like they got degrees. The way they're breaking down, but some of them are so dead on and accurate. And all I can ask is that, like, y'all, the viewing audience, match episode 1 and 2 with episode 3, and you cannot. Like, it does not make sense.
Yeah.
And I would hope that folks are kind of like seeing, like, okay, well, where did this come from? Because we didn't even see enough of April to even like really form an opinion. And I kind of hate that too, because that is something else that I'm reading and seeing a lot. It's just like, who cared that I was voted off? Because they never saw much of me anyway. They didn't see any dates. They didn't see anything.
So it's perspective. That's just, different people have different perspectives. I just want one more question. You actually remind me a little bit of my girlfriend Shay that was on the first episode. You guys are both just you remind me of her a lot in the physical aspect. But is there any guys on previous seasons that you saw that you thought you would have liked to have been able to have a chance to meet, or that was your type? Because actually a couple of the other seasons had a lot of those, the look that Mike got going on.
Yeah.
Definitely Houston had quite a bit of that. So is there anybody in particular that you saw on another season that you would have wanted to meet?
No, I didn't see Houston. So now you got me a little curious. I'm gonna have to go back and watch Houston. I saw the 2 Atlanta seasons and then Potomac. And I would say from those 2 seasons, I thought Mike Bless was just gorgeous.
Everybody loves Mike.
I know.
Everybody loves Mike, and Shay and Mike actually were the couple for a short time. So I
thought he was beautiful, and I also thought Brent was really attractive as well from that next Atlanta season.
Yeah.
But those were the only 2, honestly, that I'm like, okay, well, now he got something to him. But I'm going back to watch Houston.
It ain't gonna be like, it may not. I mean, you watch it and then let me know what you think. Hit me in my DM. Let me know what you think.
I will.
One of the questions that's come up several times in the chat, and thank you guys. My chat is the best chat ever. You guys are so. I love reading the chat when I try not to show facial expressions when I'm reading it, but you guys are hilarious. But one of the things that's been a consistent question is, and this is just your opinion, you don't have to answer this if you don't feel comfortable, but do you think that a lot of the guys on the Miami season this season actually were interested in African-American women? A lot of women are saying that they don't think the guys are really into Black women on this season.
You gonna do this to me?
Chat, girl. I was just reading the chat.
Thanks. Okay, so I will be very honest that I was concerned about that. I kind of felt like, well, here we are with a very interesting mix of people, several of them biracial. And I know for a fact that some of the guys definitely date outside of the race.
Yeah.
Our race. And I didn't, and this is controversial, so I kind of want to make sure I choose my words wisely.
Yeah. And again, this is just your opinion. If you can feel that vibe, but I mean, literally that came up tonight throughout the chat, and that has come up in every single interview that I've done so far. We talked to Devin, we talked to Calvin. I really enjoyed, both those interviews, but the chat is calling it out and saying,
I'm seeing it. Like I had the screen magnified, so I'm just now like, oh my goodness, I've been missing all of these good comments. This is my opinion, Crystal. I went on this show for Black love. I'm here for Black love. I desire Black love.
Yeah.
I feel that there is nothing better than Black love.
Mm-hmm.
And so I did not love the fact that now, like, what do you guys, are you guys here for Black love, or are you here to be on TV?
Yeah.
What's up? That's not a conversation I ever had with any of the guys, because your preference is your preference, and that's not ever something I want to get into. But personally, I did feel like the odds here of there being some genuine connections are already kind of like skewed, because and me being a chocolatey Black woman on top of that.
Yeah, no, I get there's this vibe that, or feeling, and I think we have to talk about it. I mean, this show is on OWN. It's a, you know, a urban network, so if we can't have these conversations here, I don't know where we can. Throughout other seasons, there's been issues of colorism, like, oh my God. But in Miami, a lot of people felt like, even just dating in Miami, that, you know, it can be difficult for Black women, and not, you know, African American women, not biracial women or Afro Latino women, but just Black women. It could be a more difficult market. Am I saying that? I got my PR hat on for that, you know. But that's just, you know, sometimes you just got to call it like it is. And if a lot of men in that area's preference is not Black women, then it can be difficult, and that is something that we shouldn't have to not say out loud.
I agree.
Now, I know one thing: if you came here to Atlanta, you would be scooped up in a second, because you are gorgeous, and the men here. That is one of the things that I love about this city, is there's such an appreciation for all shades, all types, all shapes.
Yeah.
You know, like it's a now, that doesn't mean that they're all gonna commit and do the right thing, but there's definitely an appreciation in Atlanta for women of all, you know, just Black women, period.
Crystal, when I come, then I'm definitely hitting you up so you can take me out.
Trust me. I'll let people know you're coming. It's probably going to be a line of my guy friends saying, we want to talk to April. So definitely. But, you know, love is out there for you. Love is out there for all of us if we want it. We just have to be open. Last question. I'm going to let you go. I know we've gone a little bit over, but the conversation was good. What is it that you're looking for? That's some people asked that earlier, as you were sharing your story about, you know, kind of really focusing on your career, saying you're not really sure if motherhood and being a wife is necessarily your goals. What are you looking for in a partner besides, you know, this relationship that you had that was positive? What characteristics are you attracted to? What is on your list of non-negotiables for the man that would be the right fit for you?
Well, so you mentioned that last relationship. There were a lot of things I learned about me from that. In that I had not really been allowing myself, nor did I have opportunities to like really allow my divine feminine energy to like really kind of just envelop, to share that with the man. And I found that I enjoyed it, and having the kind of man that like pulls that out of me. That's important. The connection is really important. The friendship is important. At this point, I really do want a grown man, age appropriate, that is emotionally intelligent, and that is intuitive, and that loves his role, if you will, because I know that can kind of become like controversial talk too about the woman's role, the man's role. But there is a lot to be said about a man who definitely treats his woman like she's the prize. I think a lot of the men here, especially in Miami, they got it twisted. And feel like they are the prize. And these guys literally sit back and wait for women to approach, and they wait for women and women, I know we're aggressive now, and we don't need, you know, I get all of that, but not when it comes to really aligning yourself with a man that's going to complement, you know, the things that, so I want a man that treats me like a lady. I want a man that absolutely feels like I'm his queen and he is my king. And I think I learned something from this show, Crystal.
That's good. Okay.
From the previous relationship and this show, I am in a place right now, which is very different from me. I posted about this and said, this is how I know I've grown, right? And I shared some stuff in that post, but this is another area of growth for me.
Okay.
Physical attraction is always the thing.
Mhm.
I lead with it. It leads for me. Like I always want a man that looks this way.
Right.
We deal with the other stuff, but I need to physically be attracted, right? And I
Mhm.
think what I came away from this season with is that, you know what? It ain't all in how good he looks, because if he cannot contribute anything to your life, level you up or match you in energy or resources or income, if he can't like help you dream and shape what you want for your own life, because I am an ambitious person. I doubt that I'll ever be someone's housewife per se, but I don't have to work a 9 to 5. And yes, I can totally keep a home for my man, but I'm going to be working or doing something from home. And I need him to support it and want it with me and for me and to be pushing forward.
Yeah.
So just, you know, those more intangible, mature things that I would love to experience with the man. I'd love for him to be beautiful, but I'm feeling like I am more so in an intellectual, lustful place in my life.
I like that. Intellectual, lustful. Well,
Yeah.
I really quickly will just share with you real fast my story. I could relate to how you felt because I was single for a long time, about 10 years. And I think I had forgotten the beauty of love. And
Right.
I had gotten, I wasn't, saying that I didn't want a man or didn't need a man, but I did think at that point, I'm okay. I'm not going to be sitting home waiting, sad, depressed. I got life to live and I'm going to keep moving forward. And I thought I was in an okay place. Flash forward to I met my now husband, almost 3 years ago. And I learned those lessons too, because I was dating all the muscle. I like muscles and height too, and chocolate skin, all that stuff that we all like. And I had to realize that wasn't, I was dating the same type of guy and it wasn't getting me anywhere. So I was like, forget it. Then I started trying to date guys that were not that attractive, but had the inside, and I wasn't happy. I'm like, I don't want to kiss that. I don't want to do that. I'm going to just stop. So but I had to open myself up, and I'll say the issue was Crystal, because Crystal was so used to being by herself. She wasn't really receptive. So once I got a little check by, someone I respected, and an older lady I respected, she checked me and she was like, it's you. You're so used to being by yourself. You're so used to creating this life. And I didn't have any balance. I was all work. Girl,
you sound, come on and tell my story. You sound like you right now.
Talking to you. So what I want to say to you tonight, God sent me the most amazing man who was patient with my workaholic, overly ambitious behind. And he nurtured all those things in me that were never attractive to other guys. The fact that I did work all the time, but he also allowed me some balance. Me being in the bed at 12 o'clock with my laptop and constantly working was not good for Crystal, right? Yes, I'm always going to be ambitious, but I needed to create some space for myself, and love does that. And he happened to be fine too. And so it was great. You know what I mean? So I just want to say, don't give up. Open up a little bit more, but don't settle for anything. Keep that intellectual lust, but God is also going to send you someone that you're attracted to, because you got to be able to love him on all levels. And if it's not and I'm not saying to be superficial, but it's important to have someone that is a good fit for you. So
why would it be superficial? That's what men want, and they don't work.
And they don't settle. They don't. So
I mean,
it's gonna happen. When Wadi says you kind of favor Lauryn Hill, you do. There's a lot.
Ooh, that's a compliment. That's a big
Lauryn Hill is she's everything. But I just want you to really, if you don't, take anything from this interview with me, I thank you for doing it. And I want you to be open, and I want you to keep believing in love, and I want you to hit me up when that love comes, because I'm gonna be so excited. And make sure when you come to Atlanta, you definitely let me know. But keep being classy, keep being ambitious, keep chasing those dreams, but leave some space. Leave some space for love.
I've been doing a lot of work on myself. And I do identify that part is definitely me. There has been no room. It's funny because one of the gifts, they give us all of these pieces of like collateral and assets to send out each week. Here are clips, here are photos, so they gifs, however you say it.
Right.
I got one GIF, and that one GIF is me saying, I ain't thinking about no dudes, right? And so I'm just like,
you make your own gift and say what you want. Yes, because that's not you don't let other people write your story. You write your story, and you
sis.
Yes, you be open. It's coming for you. So again, I appreciate it. You guys have been hanging out with us. We went 30 minutes over.
Thank y'all so much. Thank you so much, Crystal. This has been a treat. Probably one of the best interviews that I've had. Your presence and your spirit and insight, and that last piece you just shared was everything, because I felt like on this show, I know that I'm not the only woman that is like this, that is so overly consumed with career and work and ambition. And it's just like, I love what I do. So I don't necessarily feel voids in that regard. Like, I'm literally kind of reeling myself in, like, wait, but this isn't normal. You do need balance.
Yeah. And you don't even realize how much balance you need until it comes.
Right.
I had no idea I was really far gone. And all my circle is the same way. All of my close girlfriends are the exact same way. So I recognize that when you were talking, I was like, I recognize that. And I'm sure a lot of people in the chat do as well. But oftentimes our drive and our ambition, if not balance, can be toxic for us.
Right. And so I'm okay to admit where I need growth and where, I've done a lot for myself. You said it beautifully. We craft these lives and we design these lives that we have, and we do it really without a man in mind, because I think like us don't want to feel like we need a man, or that we need to leave room for someone only to disappoint us or to knock us off our square. So we just like plow full speed ahead, and we achieve and we do great things, but we really are void of love. And that whole notion that something must be wrong with you. You're 46, you never had kids, never been, now ain't nothing wrong with me. I just, this is what I chose for me. Now, for me to be whole and to be ready for you now, I had to spend 15 or so good years off the grid of dating, because I need to get me together and really love on myself and be content in my space by myself, should I never be married. Like, I needed
that's that thing, April. Don't say that. I was doing that. I was like, well, I'm creating this life because if it doesn't happen, I'm okay with that. But words are so powerful.
Yeah.
Words are so powerful. So don't speak it unless that's what you want. Because if you speak what you don't want, the universe will bring it to you. Don't even say that. Don't even say, I'm telling you, I was the exact same way. I'm like, I'm not going to be sitting here. And really that's fear. It's fear that it may not come. And I don't want to be disappointed. I don't want to be hurt.
I can admit that.
Yep. So don't speak it. Don't speak anything out of your mouth. I even got myself to where if I think a negative thought, I check myself. But I first had to get control of my mouth, because I was so busy saying, you know what? I got a house, got the car I want, got this I want. If it doesn't happen, I'm going to be okay. That was keeping me in a cycle.
Girl, you preaching in the key of E flat right now. That really, I mean, this is me talking. So me going on this show and deciding to take this path to like really, because of course, if I'm going to do it, it needed to be on some grand scale, right? Like literally, I feel like I released a sonic boom the universe about like, okay, if I'm going to do it, and if I'm going to be with the man, let me be super clear and let me say it on the biggest bullhorn I can say it. So I receive your advice. I know that I need to hear these words. I haven't slipped back into that mentality because things didn't work on the show. But I'm just checking myself on what it is I need. And I just know for sure I want him to be beautiful, but I think there's just a lot of other intangible, important, intimate things with me that I need a man to be able to address and touch and like,
let God have that. You gotta let God have that. We think that because career women, we're used to controlling everything. You want him to be beautiful inside and to be and that beauty to radiate outside, and let God work all that other stuff out. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be in the right space. All you have to be is open. Ain't no such thing as wait until I'm in no, just open your heart, trust God, and walk in that. And Mimi says, wait with great expectations. I love that. I love it. Wait with great expectations. And Tiffany, who says, that's the way I feel about having children. Don't speak it. So don't speak it. Don't write it and don't speak it. Amen. If you want that, we have to go with our heart's desire. So, you know, we've said I'm on here because this is what God has me doing. Like I went through that experience so that I could share that with other women that are like me, us career driven, yes, you know, ambition driven from the time up. I'm still trying to figure it out. But what I do know is I recognize that in you.
Yes. I mean, you literally, we have connected and bonded just now with just that piece in such a beautiful way. And again, I wanted to, one of the things about my position on the show, as I told you, I wanted to come into this with a really beautiful, warm spirit and be embracing of all the women as well as the men. But I wanted to really represent the woman that we don't get to see much on TV, be the Black woman I want to see on TV. Right. And exuding all of these things really were important about being ambitious and being strong, and, you know, but also being vulnerable enough to see where, okay, I might have played a lot of the role that has me still single now. And so, and I just don't want anybody to think that I find a problem. It's not a problem to be single. But if I really want true companionship, you are 100,000% right that I need to speak less on how good I am with being single, but more so when my person comes, how much sweeter and grander and better and bigger my life will be. So I receive you.
It doesn't. I was thinking it made me weak to say I want something that doesn't come, and it doesn't. It actually makes you strong to speak it into existence. So I think the power. Yeah. Wait with intentionality. Thank you, Kathy. Thank you, Pamela. My husband is talking in the chat. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you, April, for being so honest. And this type of conversation and everything that you did, that this helps other women that are the same way. You know, it's a bunch of us with a lot of girl magic that really just need love and balance. Now, it has to be the right one.
It has to be the right one. But I am happy that I could, and you just confirmed that I definitely represented a huge population of ambitious career women that are attractive and single and Black, and we want Black love, and we really want this ultimate beautiful connection, but it does have to be the right one, and it should not be negotiated. I'm not negotiating on what I deserve.
We don't negotiate on what we deserve, but we are open to, we're open, and we have to be willing to compromise and work on ourselves. So I know we are up late on a Monday night. Again, April, I thank you for your candor and being honest. And that's a beautiful thing. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep inspiring the rest of us I don't know if we need to be plant-based or what we need to do to be able to look at you. But I love you guys for chiming in and being receptive to this conversation. And April, please stay in touch so we can continue, like, you know, to tell that story, because what happens is people see what you're going through on here, but we want to hear people come back and say, I learned something from this, and this is where I am now. So
I'd love to talk to you. Yes.
Yeah, we look forward to seeing you soon. You guys, please share this, because I promise this conversation is going to help a lot of other women and maybe some men as well, that also, you know, are saying that I'm okay being single. And that's not what God made. That's not what God made us for. He made us to love each other and to revel in that. So I appreciate you guys for watching. Thank you all. It's a Monday night. Make sure that you have, I hope everyone's off to a blessed and productive week. And I will see you guys on Friday. And April, we will definitely stay in touch.
Please, let's. Good night, everybody. Thank you for your time and attention. I appreciate y'all. Keep watching. The show is going to get very interesting.
Oh, we're tuned in for that reunion, girl. Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
All right. Thank you guys for watching. It was an amazing show. I know like I said, we are way over, but it was worth it. That's why this channel is here. It's really why I do this channel, is to help people to continue to believe in love. So with that said, I love you guys for watching, and I will definitely see you all on Friday. Good night.